Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really quite fascinating, maybe even a bit puzzling.
Yeah, it's a classic paradox, isn't it? You hear about this supreme benevolent power.
Right, described in these ancient texts as equal and extremely dear to everyone, the ultimate well-wisher.
Exactly. But then you actually read the stories.
And you see this same power seemingly taking sides, killing enemies, helping allies.
It immediately hits you as, well, a contradiction. How can both be true?
That's precisely what we're digging into today. This isn't just us wondering about it either.
No, not at all.
Oh.
This was a direct question from King Parikshit, a really respected figure, to his teacher, Shukadeva Goswami.
He basically asked, look, how can Lord Vishnu, the well-wisher of all, seem so partial, helping the demigods, fighting the demons?
And then there's that other really perplexing case.
Shishupala.
Oh, right. Hated Krishna his whole life. Intense hatred. Just constant venom. Yet somehow he achieves liberation when Krishna finally kills him. How does that work? It seems to fly in the face of everything we think about, earning salvation.
It totally challenges our standard ideas of divine justice, fairness, consequences. All of it. So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going into the Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically looking at text 7.1.2 and some related ideas to really try and graft this concept of divine impartiality.
We want to explore why what looks like favoritism from our perspective might actually be, well, something else entirely. A misunderstanding of a reality that's fundamentally different from our own.
Exactly, a transcendental reality. And crucially, what figuring this out might mean for you listening, how you see the world, how you react, maybe even how you manage your own focus.
We'll need to draw that line between the spiritual and the material, see how our own perception gets cloudy.
And uncover this really surprising idea about intense focus, even if it starts negatively.
Yeah, the power of mental absorption. It's quite something. It could really change how you view things like justice, mercy, even your own path.
Okay, so let's start right where King Parikshit started, with his doubt. What exactly was he seeing that made him question things?
Well, he's hearing descriptions, maybe like from the Bhagavad Gita, saying the Lord is equal to everyone, right? A friend to all.
The universal well-wisher.
But then he sees the actions and the stories, the Lord clearly helping Indra and the other demigods and actively fighting and, well, killing figures like Hiranyakashipu or other powerful asuras, demons.
From a purely human viewpoint, that looks like bias. Like saying you're impartial but always siding with one team, it just doesn't compute, does it?
It really doesn't if you use our normal human logic. And the text itself is clever here. It actually poses these rhetorical questions.
Ah, okay. To make us think.
Exactly. It asks things like, what could the Lord possibly gain from helping the demigods? He's the reservoir of all pleasure, totally self-sufficient.
Right. He doesn't need anything from them.
Or, why would someone transcendental, beyond material stuff, ever fear the asuras or be envious of them?
Those questions really force you to stop and think, okay, my usual understanding of motives, benefit, fear, envy maybe, that just doesn't apply here?
Precisely. It pushes us beyond the material framework.
And it wasn't just Parikshit. You mentioned King Yudhishthira, too.
Yes, he was equally baffled by Shishupala. How could this lifetime of pure, concentrated hatred lead to liberation? It seems backwards. Usually it's devotion, love, good deeds.
That's the path we expect, right?
Yeah.
So Shishupala is a major anomaly, seemingly.
It definitely appears that way, and it sets up a really important point we'll get to later. But first, we need to grasp the foundation of this impartiality.
Okay. Where does that start?
It starts with understanding the Lord's fundamental nature as transcendental. The word used is nirguṇa.
Nirguṇa, meaning?
Without material qualities. This is the absolute core distinction. The sources say that which is material is infected by material qualities.
Infected. Like
right.
subject to good, bad, happy, sad, friend, enemy, all those dualities we live with.
Exactly. But the text continues. These qualities cannot touch that which is spiritual or transcendental. The Lord exists beyond that entire system of duality.
So nirguṇa is the key. That he's not operating under the same rules of material cause and effect or material qualities that we are.
That's the fundamental insight. Trying to judge divine actions using purely human standards like favoritism, meeting allies, getting angry is like trying to measure water with a ruler. The tool just doesn't fit the reality.
We're applying our limited material logic to something that's inherently beyond it.
Perfectly put. Krishna is described as absolute. Doesn't matter if he's seemingly in the material world or in the spiritual realm. His nature doesn't change. He's a kachasya.
No material qualities. Got it.
And he's adamarama.
Self-satisfied, completely fulfilled in himself.
Right. He does not need anyone's help. So logically, he has zero personal benefit or interest in picking sides. And concepts like fear or envy, they just don't apply to his nature.
They're purely material emotions rooted in lack or insecurity, which he doesn't have.
Exactly. They are completely foreign to his transcendental constitution.
Okay, so if he has no personal stake, no fear, no envy, what about his actions, like the fighting, the killing? How do we square that with impartiality?
This is where it gets really profound. The sources state he is always transcendental and absolute, whether he kills or bestows his favor.
Meaning even the seemingly negative actions are transcendental.
Yes. Even when he appears partial, like killing a demon, that action itself is transcendental and, believe it or not, ultimately for the benefit and salvation of everyone involved.
Wait, even for the one being killed?
Especially for the one being killed by him. The texts clearly state that his enemies, the asuras killed directly by him, can attain salvation through that act.
Wow, that completely flips the script on partiality, doesn't it? If even his enemies benefit spiritually from his actions against them.
It powerfully argues against the idea of him being truly partial in a material sense. It's a form of intense, radical mercy that operates in ways we don't immediately grasp.
So where does the perception of partiality come from then? If he's impartial, why do we see it that way?
Now we're getting to our role in this. The texts explain, when we see partiality in Krishna, this vision is due to his external energy.
His external energy,
Yeah.
meaning the material world, the forces that shape our reality.
Essentially, yes. His apparent enmity and friendship are external features presented by the material energy. They aren't inherent in him, but in how his interactions are filtered through the material lens.
He himself is beyond it, but the way it plays out looks partial to us because we're in the material energy.
Exactly. He remains always transcendental and absolute. The partiality we perceive isn't in him. It's a projection, an interpretation based on our own conditioned viewpoint.
Okay, that makes sense. Our vision is limited. I think there's an analogy used for this.
Yes, a really good one. In the sky, there are many luminaries, the sun, the moon, the stars.
Right.
They're always there, shining.
Okay.
When covered by clouds, however, these luminaries are not distinctly visible.
Ah. So the sun is still shining, but the clouds block our view. We perceive darkness or dimness, but the sun itself hasn't changed.
Precisely. Our own material qualities, the gunas, act like those clouds, particularly rajogu, passion, and tamogun, ignorance. They obscure our ability to see the Lord's constant impartial brilliance.
Our own internal state literally colors our perception of the divine.
Definitely. There's another analogy too, the electrician one.
Oh, yeah. Tell us that one.
Okay, imagine an electrician. They connect both a heater and a cooler to the same power source, right? Same electrical energy.
Mm-hmm. One makes heat, one makes cold.
Right. And people experience comfort or discomfort depending on which appliance they use. But does the electrician cause the heat or the cold?
No, they just provided the power, the universal energy.
Exactly. The electrician has nothing to do with causing heat or cold, nor with the enjoyment or suffering that results. They just supply the juice. The Lord is like that. He provides the fundamental platform, the energy. We, through our choices, actions, consciousness, determine the outcome, the heat or cold we experience.
He's not partial to the heater or the cooler. He enables both. Wow, that really clarifies how our own actions driven by these gunas create our experience, not his preference.
It shifts the responsibility, doesn't it?
It really does. So if our perception and internal state are so crucial, what about the power of our mind itself? This brings us to that radical idea you mentioned earlier.
Yes, the principle that one must somehow or other be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. This is huge.
Somehow or other, that sounds very broad.
It is. It suggests that intense mental focus, intense absorption on the divine, can actually lead to spiritual transformation, regardless of the initial emotion driving that focus.
Regardless, so not just love and devotion.
Not necessarily, according to these examples. Look, the gopis, the cowherd maidens, pure, intense love, they reached him.
Okay, standard path.
Kamsa, the tyrant king who feared Krishna constantly. He was so absorbed in fear of Krishna, thinking him nonstop. He also achieved liberation upon death.
Through fear? That's wild.
Jishupala, as we discussed, intense envy and hatred.
Yeah.
Constant focus, same result.
Mind-blowing.
The Pandavas, deep friendship and reliance, and of course regular devotees through traditional loving service.
So the common factor isn't the flavor of the emotion, but the sheer intensity and constancy of the focus on him.
That seems to be the principle. The mind, when it becomes completely riveted on the divine, undergoes a kind of purification, a transformation.
Is there an analogy for this too? I feel like there was one.
The grass worm and the bee. Yes.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so a bee traps a grass worm in a little hole in a wall. The grass worm is terrified, right? It can't think of anything but the bee. Constant fear, constant enmity.
Okay, I'm with you.
And the text says, because of this intense, fearful remembrance, the grass worm eventually becomes a bee. It transforms into the very object of its constant obsessive thought.
Whoa. So intense focus, even negative, can transform your very nature. That highlights the incredible power of where we place our attention.
It really does. But now, here comes the massive disclaimer, the absolutely crucial caveat.
Okay, hit me with it. Because the Shashupala path sounds risky.
Risky is an understatement. Please, nobody listening should think, oh, great, I'll just hate God intensely and get liberated. Don't try this at home. Seriously.
Why not? What was different about Shashupala and Dantavakra?
They were not ordinary people having ordinary negative feelings. They were actually divine beings, Jaya and Vijaya, gatekeepers in the spiritual world.
Jaya and Vijaya, I've heard those names.
They were cursed by great sages to take birth as enemies of the Lord for a few lifetimes. Their enmity wasn't just, personal animosity like we might feel.
It was scripted.
Exactly. It was part of a divine plan, a prescribed role in a cosmic drama, what the texts call a lila, a divine pastime.
So their hatred was divinely arranged, driven by spiritual energy, not just regular material anger or envy.
Precisely. It was a unique, pre-scripted scenario, specifically designed to demonstrate certain principles, included this one about absorption. It's not a template for us regular folks dealing with our everyday frustrations or disagreements.
That is such an important distinction. Okay, so the principle of absorption holds, but the path of hatred was a special case, not a general recommendation.
Absolutely not. For us, the recommended path is always positive connection, devotion, service, remembrance through love.
Which brings us back to the Lord's nature. You mentioned he likes the devotee's offering. There's that verse.
Bhagavad Gita 9.26. Patrapapa phala toya. If a devotee offers even a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water with love and devotion,
I shall accept it.
Yes. And the question arises, is he actually dependent on that leaf or flower?
Well, no. We established he's Atmarama, self-satisfied.
Correct. He doesn't need anything. But the insight is he likes to be dependent upon his devotee.
Likes to be. Why?
Out of his mercy, his compassion. He desires that loving exchange. It's not about need. It's about relationship, reciprocation. He takes pleasure in the devotee's love and their desire to offer something, anything.
So it's not partiality driven by lack, but a loving reciprocation that's open to anyone who approaches with sincere feeling.
That's it exactly. It highlights his affectionate nature, which is itself impartial, because that affection is available to all who turn towards him.
Okay, connecting all these dots, divine impartiality, our clouded perception, the power of focus, how does this tie into our lives right now, especially with, modern life being so distracting?
It connects directly. Remember those gunas, passion and ignorance acting like clouds?
Rajagu and tamagu. Yeah.
Think about rajagu, passion. The description fits modern life disturbingly well. Great attachment, uncontrollable desire, hankering, and intense endeavor.
Oh, wow. That sounds like the constant drive for more, the restlessness, the multitasking, the endless scrolling for the next hit of stimulation.
Exactly. It fuels that scattered attention, pulling our minds everywhere at once, making deep focus almost impossible. It's that agitated energy.
Totally relatable. And tamagu, ignorance.
That manifests as madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness. Think of mental fog, procrastination, passive consumption, like zoning out on social media for hours, feeling drained but not really engaged.
Just sort of drifting, lost in a haze.
Yes. And these modes essentially hijack our attention. Remember the machine metaphor.
The living entities seated on a machine made of material energy.
Yeah. The Supreme Lord is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine. It paints this picture of feeling out of control, tossed around by impulses and desires, which is exactly what scattered attention feels like. Like you're not driving, you're just being driven.
That's a powerful image. So what's the way out? How do we gain control back from the machine?
The texts say it's gradual purification. Everyone who deals with the Supreme Personality of Godhead gradually acquires the qualities of the Lord.
So dealing with him, that means consciously directing our attention towards him, somehow or other.
Yes, consistently. Even small efforts, done regularly. By doing that, we slowly start to lessen the grip of Rajagosha and Tamaga. The clouds start to thin.
And as the clouds thin, our ability to see clearly, to understand him and ourselves improves. We enhance our capability.
That's the idea. It's a process of refining our consciousness, moving from being passively tossed around to becoming more intentional about where we place our focus. We gain inner clarity and strength.
So let's talk practical application. How does understanding all this help us navigate life today? First off, seeing injustice or inequality.
It reframes it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Instead of seeing it as God playing favorites, we understand it more as the playing out of actions and reactions within the material energy, influenced by the gunas. It's rooted in the law of karma, mediated by the divine energy rather than arbitrary divine whim.
So it's less about cosmic unfairness and more about understanding the system of cause and effect we're operating within.
Yes, and our own role in it, which leads to personal responsibility.
Everyone enjoys the fruits of his qualitative activities. Our situation, our mental state, even our ability to focus it largely comes back to our choices, our habits, the moods we cultivate.
It empowers us, in a way. We're not just victims of circumstance or divine mood swings. We are active participants, co-creating our reality through our consciousness and actions.
And this process of purification, of focusing the mind, it builds resilience.
Definitely. The texts say, the more one advances spiritually, the less he is affected by the duality of material qualities, less thrown off by praise or blame, success or failure, gain or loss.
Like the Lord himself being unaffected by insults or greetings, blasphemy or prayers. That becomes a model for us.
It's a model for developing inner stability. In a world with constant opinions, criticism, social media pressures, cultivating that inner anchor, that resilience, is incredibly valuable. It's about finding peace that isn't dependent on external validation.
That reminds me of Prahlada's prayer. It seems like the ultimate example of this state.
It really is. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.43. He says essentially, I'm not afraid of this material world at all. Why? Because wherever I am, my mind is absorbed in you, your glories, your activities.
So his fearlessness comes directly from his mental absorption.
Exactly. But it doesn't stop there. He says, my real concern is for the others, the fools and rascals, his word choice, who are busy making all these elaborate plans for temporary material happiness.
He's concerned for them, even though he's personally free from fear.
Yes. He finishes, I am simply concerned with love for them. His deep spiritual focus doesn't make him indifferent. It fills him with compassion.
Wow. So the takeaway isn't just personal peace, but that true spiritual depth naturally leads to caring about others.
That's the profound example Prahlada sets. Real peace isn't about escaping problems. It's about the quality of consciousness you bring to the problems and how that consciousness naturally overflows into compassion for everyone else still caught in the struggle.
Okay, let's try and wrap up the key takeaways from this deep dive. It's been a lot to unpack.
For sure. Point one, I'd say, is that the Lord is fundamentally transcendental, nirguṇa, and therefore truly impartial. What looks like favoritism is our limited, materially clouded view.
Right. The clouds are ours, not his. Point two. Our own experiences, our ups and downs, are mostly the result of our own actions and how entangled we are in those material qualities, the gunas. Personal responsibility is key.
And third, that incredibly powerful idea. Intense, consistent focus on the divine remembering him, somehow or other, is a potent path to purification and liberation. The intensity of absorption matters immensely.
Even if the initial emotion isn't pure love, though obviously love is the ideal path, and the negative paths had very specific contexts, like Jaya and Vijaya.
Crucial context, yes.
Yeah.
But the underlying principle of absorption's power is universal.
So it really paints a picture of universal justice and mercy that operates on principles maybe far deeper and more subtle than our everyday understanding allows for.
It challenges us to look beyond appearances, doesn't it? And to recognize the immense power held within our own ability to focus our minds.
Which brings us to the final thought for you, our listeners. We've explored how this divine reality works beyond our simple ideas of fairness, and how your own focused attention is maybe the most critical factor in your experience.
Yeah, how absorption can literally transform things.
So thinking about that transformative power, we ask you, what does this mean for your own thoughts, day to day? How are you choosing to direct your own mind?
Because that focused attention really is your most powerful creative force.
Use it deliberately. See what happens. Observe how your world starts to transform.